Welcome back, everybody. This is the latest episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we've got a killer guest here with us today, Spencer Combs, and we are talking all about mindset, specifically how to get traction and build momentum, which is a perfect topic because as we record this, it's the first week of the new year. It's 2019. I know we're going to talk about some things that apply regardless of what time it is, but it's always fun to talk about these types of things when we're going into a new year because mindset definitely holds a lot of us back. And we want to resolve those things and go and build massive momentum in 2019. So unfortunately, my co-host, Greg, is building momentum somewhere else. He is not able to join us today. So I'm gonna get on his case about what else he's doing to build momentum when he's not on this podcast with us because he had to bail on today. But I want to welcome in Spencer Combs. Spencer, how's it going today?
It's going fantastic. I'm excited to be here.
I know, me too, because in the lead up to like when we connected and we're talking about the content, I love the way that you lay things out very logically. It's very simple, but it's also very deep at the same time. And so I know people are going to get a ton of value and benefit out of it. But give us some background, just a little bit kind of on how you got to where you're at right now and the team that you're on and the coaching that you're doing.
Absolutely. So, of course, my name is Spencer Combs. I have a company, a personal and business development company called Spencer Combs Resources. That actually we just launched not too long ago. However, I've been in the real estate business since '99. Started as a buyer specialist, then I ended up helping build the team there. Ended up with a team down in Florida with 6 buyers agents, 2 admins. So, took it to its peak there in 2004. Then I ended up moving back to South Carolina. That's where I'm at right now. And since 2005, I have taken on the world of coaching. And so today I actually work as an operations director for the Jeff Riley team here in Columbia, who is a local large team. And I do operations for them as well as my Spencer Combs Resources business.
Yeah, and the Jeff Riley team is doing 150 plus deals a year, something like that.
Yeah, he's actually done really, really well in the last 4 years. We've seen him expand, and this year that's part of the reason why he brought me on toward the end of last year, so that we can then now take it from where he's at to almost double is the intention.
Yeah, so you're taking essentially all the content, obviously we're going to just kind of scratch the pinky nail, as Greg would say, on the surface of your content today, but you're taking the stuff that that you teach other agents that is in your coaching business, and you're putting it into the team, along with building all the admin kind of sales management systems, because the team was really running as a kind of superstar, rock star kind of team based around Jeff, and now it's transitioning to more of a structured kind of a CEO model team where other agents are carrying more of the load. So, which is really interesting, and that's a whole other conversation. We can there's another podcast for that. But
I actually have coached Jeff for the last 3 years, so that's
interesting.
That's part of the reason for the trajectory, just a part of it. And then, of course, now that I'm actually in it, I'm doing a little bit more than coaching now. It's a little bit more of a consultant role, which at some point you may want to have a conversation about the difference between coaching, counseling, and consulting, because those are 3 separate worlds.
Yes, they are. And I love that conversation. Yeah, we'll have to have that on the UX podcast. The one you see the graphic behind me, that would be a great conversation for that, because I love that conversation. But let's talk about traction and kind of starting with identifying where you are. So there's a variety of different agents that listen to the show. You've got newbies, you've got people that are moving physical locations and starting their real estate career over in a new place, but they already have some skills. And then you've got experienced team leaders and people who I would, you might consider champions, guys and gals that are really running hard and killing it. Mm-hmm. But let's talk about, how do we identify, how do we start with knowing kind of where we are?
Well, first thing, anytime I do an intake or have a conversation with agents, I usually we've got to find out where someone is currently before we can really discuss tactics. So a long time ago, it was Brian Moses, I think I first heard it from, who said, prescription without diagnosis is malpractice. So in a medical world, if we're going to talk about diagnosis without actually talking about what the symptoms and the challenges and where we're at, it's going to be really hard to discuss a prescription. So in a format like this, I really couldn't tell you, hey, here's 3 specific things you could do to double your business. We got to talk about where you're currently at. So I have 3 specific words that start with the letter M that works really, really well in helping clarify where somebody is. So there's 3 specific things we've got to have to create results. 1, is mindset. That's probably the one area I'm most known for, because most people have the second one in place, which is mechanics. So in the world of real estate, most people know how to sell real estate and how to write a contract, how to do so that's the mechanics. Building a team, even, there's books about that. There's so many forums and opportunities to get the information on the mechanics of building a team, or building a website, or doing all the conversions necessary, that kind of thing. There's plenty of mechanics out there. And then we got mindset, mechanics. And then the third piece is movement. I think a lot of people love to talk about mindset. I think there's a lot of people that like to talk about mechanics. There's a missing link there. And if we don't have movement, we're never going to get anywhere. So when you're referring to traction and getting into momentum, I have to first sometimes slow people down, because if you put too much power into something too fast, you're going to end up spinning your wheels.
Interesting. Okay. So what do you mean by slowing people down a little bit?
I found that, after working with thousands of real estate agents at this point, I got well over 10,000 billable hours. I can compartmentalize agents into one of two categories that they're really good at.
Okay.
Some are really good at momentum, in the sense that they know how to focus and take action. They're all about going and getting stuff done.
Yeah.
Right? And then you got others that are really good at the maintenance. That's the back end, the administrative, customer service, making sure everything's straight, organized, and that kind of thing. So if I can first figure out which one they're probably good at, I can then figure out which one they're missing and need to work on. So to do that, I got to slow down the conversation. So tell me a little bit more about what's going on in your business. Specifically, to slow them down, we got to figure out what's your numbers. The people that are momentum minded, they don't like having that conversation. It's like, well, I just go out here and sell houses. Like, I got a client right now. Her brain's on fire every time I talk to her. But I have to slow her down by talking about the numbers. Specifically, how many appointments are you going to do this week? And it annoys the crap out of them. But when they slow down long enough, I can help them figure out exactly what they need to do. It's almost like pulling back a rubber band or a slingshot, because once I've slowed them down way enough and I let go, they now have the clarity, they now have the focus, and they'll go get stuff done. So I got to slow them down with numbers.
And they'll get the right things done.
Because they got the clarity.
Yeah. And so the way that you divide it up, you talked a little bit about movement and maintenance, which I think most agents listening would be kind of, able to identify which one they naturally gravitate towards. Let's talk about, we'll talk about another podcast episode, kind of who the victims are, and victims versus champions and stuff like that. But I wanted to hit that really quickly, because in your world and the way that you kind of lay out agents and how to know where you are, you've got kind of qualified victims and qualified champions. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yep. So there's actually 4 quadrants. So if you take, actually, I was telling you earlier, see if I can point this out right. So that line right there is the mindset line, and that one is the mechanics. So, and then the red line is taking action. So when they're congruent, action gets taken place. And so we have a more positive mindset the farther up we go. And then this is more, the more we are experienced in what to do, how to do it. And this is where a lot of people spend most of the time in the mechanics. If you take this and actually put it into a quadrant, you'll find that there's a negative side, right, for mechanics, in that complete ignorance. I have no idea, just no idea what to do. Right. So in the real estate world, it would be, I really don't know anything about it, just what I've seen other people do. And then you've got the negative mindset. So that would be down here. So if you put it in 4 quadrants, you would have the qualified people, in the sense that they have experience. And it might just be as simple as, doesn't have to be massive experience, just they've gone to school at least. They got a license. That could be a 0 from 0 to 10. Yep. And then in terms of mechanics. And then you've got the mindset portion, where above the line would be a positive and or powerful mindset. So, and then below the line would be a negative one that's going to slow down people down, keep them away. So if you got 4 quadrants, we've got qualified, unqualified, then you got champions and victims. So that therefore creates the unqualified champions,
Mm-hmm.
Right? So those are your dreamers. So if you're an agent right now who's probably spinning your wheels, you know you can do, you can do 48 transactions a year, and for some reason you stalled out at 18 every year. If you're having that feeling like almost a frustration,
Mm-hmm.
that may be the quadrant you're in, because you don't know enough of the mechanics. You just think that you can do it from sheer willpower or mindset.
Yep.
Then you've got the unqualified. I know we're going to go into this more deeply later, but
Mm-hmm.
then you got the unqualified victims. Those are the ones that are negative no matter what, and they're going to pull everything down. So
Yep.
they're griping about stuff they don't even know why. They just
they don't understand the mechanics of the business, and they have a negative mindset. Those, you definitely want to watch out for those. Although it may be a little bit easier to tell them apart because they don't know, they're complaining and they don't know what they're talking about. The real ones to watch out for are the qualified victims. Now, what are those?
Qualified victims would be the person who's probably in a pattern of paralysis. So that would be someone who has experience, or at least has a knowledge. They understand the mechanics. They have a logical understanding. They have a negative mindset. They have the mindset that's not stacked as it should be. And we'll talk about that in a different podcast, I'm sure. The mindset is stacked in the negative direction. So those are the ones that are going to have a constant state of frustration because they're completely feeling paralyzed.
Yeah.
They know what they're supposed to do, but they're not able to get where they need to go.
Yeah.
And the simple thing for me to tell that person, if someone's listening to this and that's where they feel like they are right now, they're kind of paralyzed, learned helplessness, that they really don't, and they're going into blame. These are people, by the way, that might blame the market. They might blame their brokerage. They'll blame their team leaders. They'll blame other people, that kind of thing. Because they know what to do, they just won't do it. So I'm going to tell you, it's not what you don't know that's stopping you, it's what you do know that you don't do.
Yeah. Yeah. That the unqualified victim, we're going to do a whole episode on that because it's it's a dangerous place to be, that if you notice yourself
qualified victim.
It's a dangerous place to be, and it's a dangerous type of person to hang out with and be influenced by, which is why we're going to do a whole episode on that. But let's talk about, like, once you figure out where you're at, let's talk about forming a little bit of a game plan to kind of get you out of it. And let's talk about more in this particular episode. Let's focus on the person who maybe has a positive outlook and a positive mindset, but they don't have all the mechanics together. They don't know what they don't know yet. So let's talk about how that person can move forward.
Okay. So if I'm looking to adjust the, which one do you want to handle first?
Let's talk about the unqualified champion. So the person that has a good mindset, spinning their wheels a little bit because they know they are destined for more. They know they're capable of more, and they have the positive mindset to get there, but it's just not materializing.
Got it. So at our Momentum Weekend event that we do, we talk about modeling, and it's not an uncommon conversation that a lot of people have heard before. The only thing is that most people that are pie in the sky or just dreamers, they feel like they already know. And that's going to be a problem, because if you're already coming into this and going, I already know that, Spencer, I already know. Those are some of the most dangerous words in the English language. So
that's true.
If you already know, then what are you doing? So if you already know, I'm going to tell you that you got a positive mindset, you understand your focus, you understand your belief system, you understand you're flexible enough. You're going to look for models of people or teams, individuals, information that have done this before.
Okay.
So that's number one. And there's two types of modeling we talk about. There's external and there's internal. And we're probably going to be looking for the external modeling in this conversation, meaning who else do you know that's already done what you're looking to do? And then start modeling, taking action towards those activities.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Makes sense. Yeah. I was going to say, when you're dealing with someone that already has a positive mindset, that makes total sense that you immediately go to, okay, who is doing this already? What are they doing? And then, of course, you're very big on metrics. So I would assume you'd look at that person and go, okay, well, let's break down what they're doing into the really specific mechanics and the numbers of what they're doing. And let's see if they're doing something differently than you are. You gave an example earlier of the person who feels like, I know I'm capable of doing 48 transactions a year, but I get stuck, 18 transactions a year, something like that. So what's going on there is they can have all the positive mindset in the world, but if they believe the solution to doing 48 deals next year is just to try harder, they've already lost, right? There's something different in the mechanics of what that person is doing that they should be modeling, that they're doing differently, that they need to adopt in their life. And I see that a lot of times just the way you have. And I've had those conversations.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I did 25 transactions next year. My goal is to double my business. Great. What are you doing? More calls, a few more calls, but some more calls, maybe more calls, possibly more calls.
And that's what you'll hear is exactly more calls. I want to make more money. I could give you a $5 bill and you've got more money.
Right.
Here's $5. Go home. Shut up. We're done. That's not going to give you more money. So to answer all the question that you're actually talking about, as far as how do you create this into a plan, it's a principle that in NLP it's referred to as chunking.
Okay.
And it's nothing different than what most people understand by breaking things down.
Okay.
But if I have to first create the clarity of what it is you want to do. So if you want to use the example of a 18 to 48, well, that's an additional 30 transactions, right? So to do 48 deals, that's 4 a month on average. Let's break that down. How many of those do you want to be sellers? How many of those do you want to be buyers?
Yep.
And out of that, how many appointments do we need to go on? And I've always been a proponent to help people. Here's something I tell people all the time. If you're not consistent at 2 appointments a week, you're probably not a full-time real estate agent.
Okay.
That's a brass statement. And I realize also that some people, they don't get into the business or they get into the business, but they don't really care to do that much work. I'm going to tell you, if you're not doing 2 a week, you're probably not doing this full time.
Right.
So you got to break it down.
Yep. That makes sense. So break it down. So the power is in the clarity of finding someone to model that's doing exactly what you want to do. And then chunking it, in other words, breaking it down in the sense that, okay, they're doing 4 deals a month. That means they're probably going on 16 to 20 appointments a month, maybe even more, right? Especially for a beginner, they may need more appointments because they're not going to rock and roll on every single appointment. And you can't count on yourself to do that until you've had the reps under your belt. So
I generally say 50%. So
yeah, 50%
conversion rate. So if you want to take 4 listings, you got to go on a minimum of 8 appointments to take the 4. So
yeah, so you work backwards from that, and then you say, okay, well, that's how many appointments I have to have. Okay, then what are the inputs that I need to get 4 appointments? Right. So, and that's where it helps to work with someone like you to figure out, okay, well, now because then the next step becomes inevitably, well, how do I get freaking, like, I'm getting two appointments, a month now. How do I quadruple that? Well, there's specific things that you can or should be doing, and that's why it's great to get the help of a coach who can stand from the outside looking in and say, you don't like doing these 5 things, so let's not do those things. Let's do more of the thing you like to do, and kind of help you make those decisions on how do you do more of the things that are required to get more appointments. So I just wanted to point that out, that you can work through this process yourself a lot, but a lot of times, if your mindset is a little bit more on the negative side than you think it is, what'll end up happening is you'll get stuck at that point. You'll get stuck at the point of, okay, what do I need more of? I know I need more appointments, but what things am I doing to get more appointments in the funnel? And a lot of times that's what gets agents stuck when they work through this by themselves.
And almost always that's a conversation around beliefs.
Why you said that?
I have found that for the most of us, we know what we should be doing. We know how to do it even, but we won't take the action. And it's almost always an incongruency in beliefs, because I don't know how anybody could give that level of quality of service and list 16 houses a month. Like how does that work?
That's true.
How do you do that?
Yep. Or the belief that twice as many listings equals twice as much work, and I'm already working 35 or 40 hours a week. Therefore, therefore more listings is more work. Yeah, that's true.
And generally that's an unconscious thing. Most people wouldn't consciously tell you that that's what they believe. But when you push in long enough and ask long enough, you find out that the maintenance part of the business, remember I said momentum and maintenance, the maintenance part of the business is what's holding them up. So and if you're listening to this, this podcast and you're concerned, you're like, yeah, you're right. I would love to do more. I just don't think I can handle more. Right. Believe it or not, it's going to come down to just some very small things. It could be something as simple as checklists. Amazing number of agents that don't even have checklists. They just keep it all in their heads, right? It could be something as simple as a calendar, organizing your schedule. And probably the most powerful thing that I can do to get somebody into traction is to put them into a rhythm. And I spend a lot of time talking about this kind of stuff, but in a rhythm of planning. So once a year, my wife and I, we travel and we spend days planning the next year. Once a month, you should be spending some time working on your month ahead of you based off of the feedback. So progress is the name of the game, not achievement. So if I can find progress for the month and then break that down into weeks, and then every day what's the progress that I'm making today to make progress towards the week? And if I keep doing that every day, every week, every month, it'll turn into quarters, which will turn into years.
Love it.
Nobody is going to close 48 transactions because they just decided to put it together today. It's going to happen because it happens consistently over time, and the adjustment, which, by the way, feedback is part of the flexibility portion that we talk about in mindset.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say, and that's a whole other episode. So okay.
Sorry about that.
This is really good. I love the conversation of rhythm, by the way. And so I love not only the rhythm of planning, but the rhythm of your schedule, the rhythm of your like how you set priorities, how you get feedback, how do you adjust to the feedback. That's freaking phenomenal.
Feedback is not failure.
Right.
It's two different things. Yep.
Yeah. So how do people reach out? How do they connect? How do they get into your world?
Probably the easiest thing to do would be to go to SpencerCombs.com is my main site. However, for real estate, we have productivitystreet.com, and that's more tailored to the real estate world. Mm-hmm. I also have on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern time, we have a Facebook Live event that I do. Quite frankly, I just jump on there and discuss a subject that's at hand. And if anybody has questions or throws something at me, I'm usually, I'll be glad to answer. That's at 6 p.m. They don't last very long unless I get engaged for a lengthy period of time. Then I won't stop talking. But yeah, and that's Spencer Combs Resources. So if you go to facebook.com/Spencer Combs Resources, you'll find our page there.
Easy enough. Love it. All right. And since Greg isn't here to defend himself, I will just say, make sure to check out wisehire.com. We love WiseHire. And if you're looking to hire agents or admin for your team, they run, that system allows you to post the ads. They've got job ad templates. It allows you to run every single person through the disc profile, which is super, super important. So you know whether they're a match for the exact team position that you're looking for. So absolutely check them out, wisehire.com. And then if you want to talk to Greg about linking up with EXP under Greg, go to bookmcdaniel.com. So with that being said, Spencer, thank you so much. We appreciate you joining us.